Hey everyone, Jag Taggart 93 here, back again with another comprehensive Doom WOD review. Today we're looking at Stegodon's Old Town, which is billed as a small medieval looking town with a church, castle, and temple ruin. Now the author states that this is their first map, in any game ever, and it really shows. Now, I don't mean that as an insult at all. I mean, actually I think it's pretty awesome in some slight areas, and I think it's great that people are still making new maps and are new to the map making scene in 2019. However, this WOD definitely shows that it's a first time effort, and there's a lot of reasons for it. But like I said, there is a little bit of awesome here, just a very little bit. So first off, I appreciate the ambition the author had in trying to make something different. It's tempting to play it safe with a Doom WOD when it's your first time go of it. Usually when people do their first Doom WOD, it's something like a UAC type facility, where the native assets are really meant for that. Or they'll do something that they understand much more better, so they have experience with. So, for example, back in the day when we were kids playing Doom, a lot of us made levels based on like our, local malls, even our own schools and whatnot. Granted, that might be a little edgy to do now, but the reason why we did it, part of it was because we thought it was funny, but also we can imagine realistic proportions and realistic room layouts based on these environments which we were in nearly every day, very common. So having that knowledge of where stuff should be located really helped with having a basic idea in mind of where the rooms and layouts and hallways should go, so you don't end up just with a sprawling mess. But the author here did something unique. They did a medieval type environment, which, for Quake that's pretty basic, but for Doom that's a bit more ambitious. Usually when someone tries to do a old-fashioned WOD or something set in history, usually with Doom it's usually Old West. Actually, when I saw Old Town, I really thought, okay, Western type map, probably a lot of shotguns and whatnot, but no. Instead they went with a medieval theme, which is a lot harder to do. Credit to the author for trying to make something that takes a bit more imagination than what most people do in their first time effort, and yeah, it shows they really tried. There's a moat area early on. There was a church, there was an execution yard, and a throne room. And really there was a definite method behind this map, as you can see, as each landmark definitely appears planned out in advance, and things are more or less spaced out realistically and accordingly, so great job there. But unfortunately in the technical areas, that's where this map is flawed. The most challenging area, actually, is the very, very, very beginning, where you're at the bridge that goes over the moat, and the bridge is flanked by hit scanners on either side. Now obviously it's very, very stupid to bother just standing there on the bridge, and you can't really move side to side too easily because it's a bridge, but stand there and try and exchange fire with the shotgunners and chain gunners with your pistol. Most people are not going to do that. Most people are going to realize, okay, I can just run straight across this bridge and be out of their range and get the shotgun that's right there, and that's what most people will do. So it's kind of a cakewalk, and continues to be a cakewalk for most of this map, even on Ultraviolence. The toughest enemy you'll really encounter on Ultraviolence are really just a few Hell Knights here and there, which are really no problem at all, because you do get the super shotgun too, very early on. Now there's some chain gunners here and there, but they're pretty easy to take out, and usually you can see them well in advance. And there's one placement of chain gunners that did kind of bother me. It was in the church, and they're up high, and there's about 3 of them clustered all together, and it just looks really messy. You could have chain gunners in the church, but what I would have done was probably had them above a balcony over the entrance as a sneaky sniping position, and maybe have them a little more spaced out too. That would be what I would do for the sake of realism, because churches, especially cathedrals, did have balconies back then. They didn't have pews, but that's okay, but they did have balconies for, choirs and whatnot. But yeah, I would have them up high there instead of just clustered all here, where they can't really do much in that position, and it just looks sloppy. Also, I wouldn't be afraid to put something a little more challenging in the church area too, especially on Ultraviolence, especially after we get the super shotgun, like a Baron of Hell even, or even a Archvile would be fitting actually. But yeah, no, after that it's more or less a lot of imps, a lot of soldiers. There's a couple pinkies, but the pinkies are never really in any position to really harass you up close. Usually you see them behind bars, or behind a grate, or behind a fence, and you have plenty of ammo to take them out, so it's really not a huge deal at all. Later in the map, there's a couple Lost Souls that just appear just 'cause, which is a shame. If you're going to have Lost Souls, I think you'd want to have them in the outside areas, maybe over the moat or maybe in a courtyard area where you can take full advantage of their mobility instead of having them stuck in a room with other monsters, and it just feels like an afterthought. Now, I really dug the last room, the throne room, and I was excited when I saw this throne. I was like, okay, cool, we're going to hit the switch that's on the throne, and then we're going to meet the king. We're going to have a boss fight. That's what I felt like I was building up to. So I hit the switch, and nope, lo and behold, the switch is the end of the map. I hate when that happens. I hate when there's a visual cue, something unique, and there's a mundane switch, and you're just thinking the switch is going to trigger something, but you don't realize that's the exit, so a bit of a bummer there. So overall, I rate this map a 42%, and it's a good effort at a rough draft for a first-time map, but I can't in good conscience call it a good WOD. It really needs a bit more playtesting to really hammer down the gameplay and weed out some of the problems and develop a bit more. I mean, the good news is that the framework is here for a decent WOD to build from. And that's something I'd really like it if the author did build from this and make a updated version. And I really think it could be something really good or even great. But yeah, definitely try it out anyway, and comment below on what things you like or what things you wish were different, or if I'm just way off base. But that's really all I have to say about it. Thank you all for watching, and now get playing. This is Jag Taggart 93 signing out. You all have a good one.